There is a reason he's in second place, and that's because the most powerful being Teyvat has ever seen is the Primordial One, the creator of all.
The dragons ruled Teyvat for an indeterminable amount of time, doing fuck all before the arrival of it. To call it mighty is to diminish the boundless expanse of its power. It is the architects of creation, the celestial artisan shaping the very fake sky with its omnipotent hands. It is the Primordial One, the creator of some, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. Or is he rather the strongest human in Teyvat? I mean, strongest being? You're telling me he's stronger than... the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars? I don't buy it. We all know who the other two are. The Dragon King Nibelung, King of the Sovereigns, and the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. That being the Four Shades, and the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. Hell, even the winner of the war between the Second Who Came and the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. We are here to commemorate our one and true lord, the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. Insofar as it remains, the war is not over. It is the only one who can hold a candle to an eon, and its name is the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. She is no mere god like the Archons, but rather they themselves refer to Istaroth as a higher power. Istaroth is a shade, meaning she stems directly from the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. I'm inclined to believe the descender of the Hyperborea era was the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. Bring out the fucking Avatar, man! If it is okay then for some wrong to be done for the sake of humanity, how is that any different then? The Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. Every human in Teyvat only exists because of the efforts of the ultimate colonizer, the realm usurper, the expansion maestro, the domination dynamo, the world's master. But to us, he's simply the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. With 4 samsara cycles into that, there have also been 4 great wars. In the Hyperborea era, there was the original Great War between the Sovereigns and the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. And then, in the Natlan era, there was the Great War of Vengeance between the Second Who Came and the reigning, defending, undisputed champion, the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. Who among the people we've met so far could be a god? But not just any god, an eldritch, Lovecraftian, enigmatic entity similar in nature to that of an all too familiar god in a sister game. If you don't know who I'm talking about, let me introduce you to the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. As today we focus on singing the praises of our beloved sustainer of heavenly principles, Celestia, and the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. So with all that said, the world of Teyvat is lucky, should be more grateful, and should be more pious that they had the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. You know, oftentimes on this channel I've been accused of being a Celestia stalwart, an enjoyer of our beloved sustainer of heavenly principles, and a devout follower of the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. It does, and its name is the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. The only sustainer we know of is our beloved sustainer of heavenly principles, and the only creator we know of is the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. Don't know how many of the original sovereigns remained following the first war between themselves and the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. And no, I don't mean the gods up above in Celestia who gave humanity everything, such as the four shades, our beloved sustainer of heavenly principles, or the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. Were created before the human realm even came into existence by the hands of the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. Quote, when the eternal throne of the heavens came, the world was made anew. Then the true Lord, the Primordial One, came forth and did battle against the seven terrifying sovereigns, dragon lords of the old world, the Primordial One. Stand proud and say it is indeed the Primordial One, a progenitor god, hailing from beyond the stars. They stood no match against it. They stood no match against its greatness, its benevolence, and its omnipotence. Some may call it God, yet in order to dutifully sing its praises, the masses must do so correctly. So rise and join me, as it has been far too long since we last sang the praises of the Primordial One, a progenitor god, hailing from beyond the stars. Oh, wait a second, did you? Surely you didn't defeat even the one who haunts all us bishops' dreams. While he never introduced himself to us before descending and handing our asses to us, despite us having home court advantage in numbers, I believe an appropriate title for that one would be the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. And holding dominion over the fundamental aspects of existence, they were emanations. You see, emanations derived from the greatest being who ever lived. I'll say it again, emanations derived from the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. Then, now, and still is Celestia, the current rulers of Tibet, controlled by the heavenly principles featuring the lights of the four shades, our beloved sustainer of heavenly principles, and the Primordial One, a progenitor god, hailing from beyond the stars. The first civilization of Tibet was a glorious unified landmass, watched over personally by the Primordial One, a progenitor god, hailing from beyond the stars. Humans are not natural to the world of Tibet, an alien life form brought over to Tibet personally by the greatest being who ever lived, the sovereign of sovereigns, the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. For when aggression is met with defiance, it is then and only then that Fane shall spread its wings once more, descend to Tibet with sword in hand, a sword that has slain countless foes, and it is then and only then it will reveal its true form. Fane's the Primordial One, a progenitor god, hailing from beyond the stars. With that said, I believe it's time we start to seriously consider the possibility that there may be a greater than not chance that the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars, is dead. Gods and the Harbingers and the rest of the Harbingers trying to fight off the Sustainer, all 11 of them on her, and she's just like fucking killing them all, but then all of a sudden, things go quiet. You know, the birds fly away, and then they hear Gabriel's horns. People come, and it's, oh my, from out of nowhere, it's the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars.
A CL Neba bitch here, despite having home court advantage, numbers, and being king of the dragon sovereigns, still got his shit ran by the sovereign of sovereigns. So he grabbed space drugs, hoping the crackhead strength would finally be enough to best the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars, and the great sky barrier made by the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing beyond the stars. Paimon is the culprit of something. Usually it seems to be she's either our beloved sustainer of heavenly principles, or even the Primordial One, a Progenitor God. From beyond the stars.
World established by the Primordial One. None of these things will ever come to fruition. Only good arises from the worlds it created. The bad guy dies, the good guy lives. And in the end, we all come out on the other side happier because of it. Thank you, the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars.
And the sole reason to that isn't dust yet is because of it. Imagine, if you will, a force so ancient and powerful that the very fabric of reality trembles. At its presence, the skies darken, the earth quakes, and an overwhelming aura of dread and reverence fills the air. This entity is not just a guardian, but a relentless overseer, a celestial warden whose gaze pierces through the veil of time and space. What would we call this entity, God? No. Titles such as that are relevant. Doesn't fully capture what we're dealing with here. This is a being with a title. A being that was here from the beginning. A being that came alone. This is a being that is something. A being from which everything originates. And this being is most certainly a being that comes from a place that isn't here. Only when these 8 keys are put together can we even hope to understand what we're dealing with here. And it's the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars! But you know who doesn't abandon their creations, their children, who loves their creations, who take a fucking bullet for their children? Celestia! Because time and time again, they've showed us that when any fucking thing threatens the sanctity of humanity's sovereignty on Teyvat, they will step up, and if they must use their bodies as a shield to protect humanity, and there is none greater example than that time that bastard crackhead Dragon King Nibelung returned with crackhead strength, souped up on forbidden knowledge, to bring ruin to all and take on the might of the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars! It was then we all saw that when the chips were down, Thanes has our fucking back! Even if it costed them nearly everything. That is not callousness, my friends. That is love.